Hi everybody, I'm Scott Stanford, host of OG Sports here on OnlyGood TV. We're on the lookout for inspiring sports stories, amazing athletes, and one-of-a-kind comebacks. Today we're meeting Emma G. She's a D1 cross-country and track star attending BYU. Not only is Emma an amazing runner, but she's also the very first openly bisexual athlete at BYU. And BYU is a Mormon faith-based college that forbids homosexuality in their honor code. So why did Emma come out? That's what we're going to find out today. When I heard your story, I said we have to get her on OG Sports. So here you are.
Yeah.
First off, listen, tell me a little bit about what you're doing now, because I know you're doing your master's, 5th year, 7th year. Tell me where you are now in your college career.
Just graduated from BYU in April. I'm getting my master's degree at Temple University, technically in Philly, but right now I'm in California for the semester to train.
You are a force to be reckoned with in cross country and track, I should say. When and why did you get into that sport?
I started out in soccer. Soccer is the love of my life, I think. Wasn't great at the ball passing part, but I was good at the running part. I knew that I wanted to play college sports. It's hard to get recruited if you can't play in the big soccer tournaments, which were on Sunday, but I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So that's why I ended up going into running. None of the races are run on Sunday. So that's kind of how I found myself in this sport in particular.
In track, what events do you go for in track? What are your strengths?
And my big event is the 3K steeplechase.
3K steeple, that's when you run over the fence and over the water?
Yeah, we jump over the water barrier and then we jump over the normal barriers every lap. It's about a 2-mile race.
How have you been placing like the last few years?
So I was 2 or 3 spots out of nationals the last time that we had track races, basically, which is now like a year and a half ago. So I was just out of making the NCAA meet, which was a bummer. It was a bummer, but that's why I'm still going for it. I think I can do it.
You're not going to stop till you make it.
No.
That's good.
Even if I'm 30 when I do it. So
that's good. So all right. So listen. So let's get to the heart of the story here. When Emma did you realize that you were bisexual? When did that all come about?
Basically my senior year. I didn't have a lot of context for LGBTQ plus relationships or feelings. Grew up in a very conservative household. We didn't really talk about that sort of thing. Foreign exchange student joins the cross country team. She was stunning, had an accent, was the most beautiful personality, and I fell head over heels for her. Didn't understand my feelings, was crushed when she started dating a boy on the team. What was new for me is that I like girls, essentially, and that's kind of how I came to terms with my bisexuality, that I do feel for girls that way.
What was it like keeping all that bottled up inside? And yeah, obviously you had to make sure this was a thing, right?
Yeah, it took me a while to educate myself about the community and just about my own feelings and understanding sexuality in general. Like I said, didn't have a lot of education around that beforehand. And because I was just having to process it internally, it just made it hard to make the healthiest decisions for me moving forward. So when I was getting recruited to colleges, for running and stuff, BYU made the most financial sense for the scholarship they were offering for running.
Right.
I was in no position to bring my sexuality up as a reason to not attend a school, essentially. And even with myself, I hadn't really identified my sexuality that way quite yet. Okay. So I think just logistically, having to keep it inside and keep it very private was negative in that way. I think the mental health stuff came up later when I had reckoned with my sexuality and I found myself in an environment that was extremely toxic and, not welcoming toward that piece of life.
Well, listen, when you read about BYU and their policies and everything else, that's got to be probably one of the toughest colleges to start feeling that way and coming out about it. So were you nervous about doing it? What was the reaction from, your family, your friends, coach, everybody?
I felt like I was very strategic with it. I think I was more well-versed in how people from my community would react, that I did take a lot of time to kind of be careful with how I was going to come out. So I will say that by the time that I did come out, the reactions, you know, were fairly positive, but I think it's because I put in a lot of work to build relationships with people in which we could have those kind of conversations in a safe way.
Right.
It was uncomfortable with my family for sure. That's not something that I think any of us really saw coming. That relationship is definitely a work in progress. It's just kind of hard to figure out what kind of lifestyle that looks like. There's a lot of stereotypes around the LGBTQ plus community, so I know that my parents, you know, had some concerns about that. But in terms of like my teammates and my coach, like I said, I was on the team with them for 3 years before coming out. So it was easier to navigate because they couldn't necessarily like make some of those stereotypical judgments about me because they'd already been around me for 3 years.
What about like the higher ups at the school, at the college itself?
Fortunately, I had taken the initiative to kind of be a part of the first diversity and inclusion leadership, like student athlete leadership group.
Okay.
At BYU, and so I was working with several senior administrators at BYU, and I'd been working with them for about a year before coming out. So it was kind of the same thing with my teammates, I think, because they knew me, they knew like my personality, they knew who I was. By the time I like came out and they heard about me identifying as bisexual, like we just knew each other. It's different when you know someone. And so again, like the stereotypes and any concerns that they may have had if they hadn't known me just weren't there. The first person I came out to was my senior administrators, Liz Darger, and she handled it so beautifully. She said, "Hey Emma, like thank you for trusting me. I love you." And then she showed me a picture of one of her good friends who is gay and who has a wife and has a son, and it was a really beautiful moment for me.
When you came out, did you feel like people had you under a little bit of a microscope at all, or no?
Yeah, I mean, people are always watching for sure, and that's just kind of the vibe at BYU because of the way the honor code was set up. I know they've made some changes.
Yeah.
But they, you know, they do rely on tattling and, you know, judging each other sometimes. I know the culture is in a process of getting better with that, but that's definitely the vibe for sure.
What do you hope the people who should watch this, or you ever run across someone who may be in the same situation you were, you know, what do you hope that they learn from your story?
I think it's best practice to never make assumptions about people. And I think the most important thing we can do in life is be willing to challenge the way we're conditioned to think as well. I know that that was a huge part of my process in coming to terms with myself, and it's given me great freedom in progressing as a person. So I think that's an awesome thing that anyone can do.
Where are we going to see you with this, you know, this cross country and track star stuff? Where do you want to be?
So fingers crossed that an outdoor track season happens this coming spring. I would love, well, I'm going to be an All-American in the 3,000 meter steeplechase, so that's what can be on people's radars. That's my goal.
Emma, thank you so much. Listen, continued success. I wish you the best of luck. I want to see you on one of those steeplechase races on ESPN one of these days.
Heck yeah.
I could say I knew her when.
Thank you so much. Well, you'll definitely see me on there.
Emma, thank you so much, sweetie.
Okay, thank you.
I want to thank Emma G for joining us here on this segment of OG Sports. We're always on the lookout for the next inspirational sports heroes, so if you know somebody, send them our way. Here at OG Sports, we're always looking for those that are going to change the world. I'm Scott Stanford.